Joining us this morning is Jerry Jones, Vice President of Slauson Companies, and John Rolph, President of Sasnak Management Corporation. Please join me in welcoming Jerry and John this morning. Jerry, let me give you a couple minutes or whatever just to respond, if you want to what Jack had to say there.
Sure. Well, clearly there was a lot of cause for optimism, I think, in Jack's presentation. With the improving fundamentals nationally, I think the prospects for retailers and restaurants here in Wichita should get a boost. The past 5 years have been challenging for retailers and restaurants, especially here in the Wichita area. I think that those stores that have survived those headwinds, though, should be well positioned to take advantage of these improving fundamentals. I think that I know here locally with our shopping centers, we did see a dip in sales right after the 2008. Had a couple tough years there, but they've been surprisingly resilient. I think over the last 3 years we've seen sales growth. So I think again there's a good foundation there for future success. With respect to national retailers entering this market, I think we'll continue to see a very deliberate growth of that. Of course, the 2000s were unprecedented growth for retailing expansion throughout the country. And it's slowed down throughout the country over the last 5 years. There have been virtually no new shopping centers of any size built in the last 5 years, and a lot of the expansion has been opportunistic expansion for stores that have vacated stores that or have occupied stores that have been previously vacated. An example of that would be at New Market Square, Marshall's coming into this market and filling a space that was vacated by Borders books. And I think in the case of companies like Cabela's and Whole Foods, those are growing industries, and Wichita finally rose to the top of their list, and we saw we're able to land those stores here in Wichita. But I guess to wrap up, I'd say the buzzword lately here in Wichita, thanks to Dr. Bardo, has been innovation. And I do believe that those stores and retailers and restaurants that are innovative in the way they identify their customers and market to their customers, learn what their customers want and need, and then merchandise to those needs should have a bright future.
All right, John, comment?
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. I would agree. I think maybe you looked at my notes. I wrote innovate or stagnate. That's something James Chung said to Wichita a couple weeks ago when he was here, a demographer, and it's true inside, I think, of retail and restaurant in particular. A lot of us went through the recession thinking once things recovered, it would look similar to the way it did previous to 2008, but what we've come back and seen is things are different. And the wage growth is one of the major areas. Between 2008 and 2012, there was 2.8 million less households that fit in the middle class section of our economy, and that means there's less customers. So like casual dining, which is a sector we're in, over the last 7 years has only had 7 months where there's been more customers in the sector than there were the month the year before. And so what we're seeing is this lack of wage growth for middle and lower class, and the lack of spending power is having us all have to transform and innovate how we move forward in the economy ahead. So that's what I'd say.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time for questions, but I think one that we can spread across all three of our panelists here, starting with Jack, please. What are some of the important trends you're seeing? I realize that we're not into Halloween yet, but the important trends you're seeing in retail for this holiday season. I think we're all thinking about that a little bit.
Well, we just released our estimate for the holiday season for November and December, and it's spending across all categories, not just on, presents underneath the Christmas tree, if you will. 4.1%. We're looking at jobs, added jobs in the economy is somewhere in between 720 to 790,000 jobs. So, it's an important part of the economic business cycle for this year. In terms of some of the ideas that are going on, we're specifically trends that you've asked about, smartphones continue to be strong, and I have 4 daughters, and I've learned what the word accessorize means. Okay, so everyone's accessorizing their electronics these days. So added features and things that you're going to put on your smartphone or be able to communicate is one of the things that retailers, at least that I've heard, should be looking at. And the anticipation has already begun. We see retailers out there nationally already putting out promotions and discounts, and that's going to be, again, the story of 2014 promotions. We've conditioned consumers looking for those price values. And in terms of other, apparel is really, from what I understand, going to be only differentiated if you have something unique. And there's nothing that we've seen anything at this point that is shocking the marketplace, but we might have to wait and see what might be put out on the shelves. Again, as I mentioned, promotions and discounting, and one way to deal with uniqueness is to try and find something that you have an exclusivity on, and others can't provide equally ease, whether it be on the internet or somewhere in your community. So basically, I think it's going to be a good, solid holiday season nationally at this point. Of course, it all depends on local economy, and I'm hoping you guys will have a healthy and happy holiday retail season.
Jerry, you want to take a shot at that? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I'm just really going to reflect on Jack, but I will say, again, with respect to our tenants and our shopping centers, retailers are an optimistic lot, and I think with the general...
That's how they survive.
Yeah, exactly. With this rising tide of optimism, I think our tenants, I know, are energized and looking forward to the holiday season, and hopeful that they'll see some good sales growth this year.
I don't want to complicate this for you, John, but is it going to be Fezziwig or Scrooge? In other words, positive or negative?
I'd say positive. Part of that's because the numbers have been so bad previous years. I know in our industry they're expecting growth in Q3 and Q4. And we're seeing it so far in Q3, and the lower gas prices, if they hang on through the retail season, that really has an impact on people's spending. So.
I want to throw this one at Jerry, if I might. What new retailers, restaurants, or retail projects are anticipated for Wichita in the area in the coming year, Jerry?
Well, I think that, again, as I said earlier, the growth of and expansion of retail has really slowed down a lot. But this year we've seen some new stores enter the market. Whole Foods, I mentioned, Pie 5 Pizza, Firehouse Subs, Dickey's Barbecue is coming, Dunkin' Donuts. A lot of these, as you'll note, are food service, and that really is more of the growth that we're seeing is in the quick casual segment, and I would expect a continuation of that. I think the areas that have seen growth in the past are the ones that are going to continue to grow. In the Greenwich and 21st Street corridors, I think the addition of the Good Sports Fieldhouse could generate some opportunities for some new stores to come in. But I really don't look towards any big announcements this year. I know that Wichita Eagle does a survey every year on their top 10 stores and restaurants that people want. Somehow Cheesecake Factory keeps getting on the top of that list, which I don't understand. We got great restaurants here like Carlos O'Kelly's. So
I second that.
Why do we need Cheesecake Factory? But so I think it's going to be.
Did you mention Cheesecake Factory? Tried to get into the one in the plaza in Kansas City. They have about a 4-month wait. You just can't get in there. John, what do you think about new projects and things that you're doing here in the year ahead?
I think, like I said, it's a lot of transforming, and maybe Jerry can speak to this. A lot of retailers and the movement and, the projects we're working right now are primarily on remodels. There's a lot of that going on inside the restaurant sector and growth, particularly inside the fast casual. But what you're seeing, there's a project we're working on in Waterloo, Iowa right now that moves us across the street from a 6,500 square foot building into a 5,000 square foot building. And what we're finding is with less customers out there, you shrink your footprint and create more energy in the restaurant. And so instead of designing the restaurant to run a $2,500 or $3,000 hour, it's more of a $2,000 hour. And so I think that's what, in casual dining, what we're seeing. The majority of new unit growth is in fast casual, like he said, but even in quick service, which is fast food, since 2007, Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King are down 529 units. That's not just the closures. That's closures against new builds, and so the closures have been a lot more. So there's still a right sizing going on across the whole sector.
Did that speak to the recession? Has that transformed your industry, the big recession?
Absolutely. We all thought we just needed to get through it, which we did. But now spending habits and the way the consumers look at their restaurant spend and their restaurant experience is very different. I think people are asking themselves, is a server worth the 15% upcharge? And that's one of the big challenges for casual dining compared to a fast casual part. The growth has been in fast casual. The question is, when does that hit its ceiling? We'll be interested to watch that. You see Pie 5 coming into town and others. That's going to be the next growth in fast casual is this fast casual pizza. There's about 6 players out there trying to grow. Other than that, with technology and with the cost structure and the unit level economics changing so much, I think you'll see a lot of change inside the restaurant industry over the next 5 years.
Jack, with regard to recession and the way that people think about how they're going to spend money, are they going to charge it? Are they going to buy it with cash? Are they not going to buy it? Did the recession transform us as a people, as consumers?
Well, I think it's a great question, and I would argue that it has. Because as you recall, in the period prior to the recession, and you looked at the amount of outstanding credit card debt or just overall debt, it was far higher than we had looked at historically. And we looked at our home as our ATM, and we were able to, cash out. We thought we were able to cash out and use that credit to make purchases. And so there's no doubt in my mind that there has been a restructuring of how people think about and use their credit and what they're buying. And of course, the lender has also, from that standpoint, had to recalculate what they're going to provide because of certainly regulations, but also they've taken major hits on their performance because of extensive lending when they should have not probably done so.
Jerry, you want to comment on that? It's kind of a big question, I think. But
Yeah, it is.
how have we changed as a people in the recession?
Well, I think one thing that Jack touched on earlier was internet sales, and a lot of people have looked at that and then looked at shopping centers and said, what's going to happen to shopping centers in the future? And I think that although it's true that a lot of people, myself included, buy things online, from a retailer's perspective, what they're really trying to do is serve their customers, and they're doing that in a lot of different ways other than just internet sales. And bricks and mortar is still, by and large, the largest aspect of that. Retailers still do catalog sales. They're looking at outlets. Social media is a huge thing, and the way they fulfill sales. I read something yesterday about a new application that they're trying out in San Francisco called Curbside, where you can find a product on your smartphone, purchase it, text the store that you're coming. They have GPS, can identify when you get to the curb, and a sales representative will bring it out to the store. So, there's a lot of innovation going on in the industry, and that's being fueled by consumers and the way they want to buy goods.
Can I make a comment?
Quick,
I heard
sure.
this yesterday, and I don't remember where I heard it. But remember when the fax machine came out, maybe 20, 25 years ago? and how everybody's saying it was going to change business, right? But why would you change business? It's just another tool. So the difference here is that the internet is just another way of doing business. So you don't need to have a fax strategy back then. You need to have, or a internet strategy. You have to have a retail strategy that incorporates these different channels into one. And that's, I think, very evident today. And in fact, as you think about the data coming out, I think it's just going to all blur together, and we're not going to be able to differentiate when it comes out as an e-commerce item or whether it's a brick and mortar.
Okay, Jack, I'm going to give you the final question, and you can be a devil or an angel here, I guess. What is the risk of recession in the near future?
That's a great question, and it's asked frequently. Right now, I do not see a high probability for a recession in the near term. The actions for a recession usually comes about because there is some kind of a bubble somewhere or some major shock. I think that right now I put it down to about 10 or 15%. But there's a lot of uncertainties out there. Who knows what's going to happen in geopolitical? We didn't talk anything about international and how that impacts the U.S. economy. But I would argue at this point, given where we are in the outlook for the near term, a lower probability for a recession throughout the next year or so until the economy starts to really get on its own and sustain itself.
All right, we're out of time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great panel.